Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk, and I'm your host, C Money. And in today's episode, we're going to do another political episode. Right now, I'm at one of the parks so I wanted to check out. It's Marshall Williamson Park in South Miami, Florida. It's not a big park, it's a small park. It kind of curves. This is one of the parks. It's not too far from a park that I did a while from a park that I did an episode from a while back, which is All American Park, which is probably maybe a 5 to 10 minute walk from here, depending on how you walk. And it's not far from the South Miami Metro Rail train station, and it's not far. It's definitely a 5 minute walk from an episode I just did a couple of weeks ago. It's a 5 minute walk from Sunset Place, so it's in the South Miami area. So, and to the South Floridians, I know y'all probably wondering why are you out here and it's hot. Yes, it is a scorching 90 plus degrees. It is, if you look at if you've been watching the news, if you've been watching in South Florida, big ups, I want to send my condolences to everybody out there who has been affected by the flooded throughout the northern part of the U.S. and other countries and other parts of the U.S. country where there has been flooding everywhere. I know y'all probably want our weather where it can dry up all the water. It is a 94 degrees down here in South Miami. I'm looking at my weather report now. It's 94 degrees, so you can imagine. I did see a corner store near, and I was going to stop and give me something to drink, but I said I'm probably going to be under a canopy, which I'm glad I found. And right now we're going to go out into our episode. In this episode, I want to talk about the presidential election 2024. Oh my God, this is that this is a topic that everybody's on everybody's mind. This is a topic that's on the edge with everybody, and this is a topic that's basically putting everybody, like what's going on. Because as you know, a lot of presidential candidates are coming out, and then you got all these what's going on. First off, as you know, let's run down the candidates that are running. For Democrats, you have, of course, Joe Biden. Then you have a candidate, Williamson, which is a female, and then you have a candidate Kennedy. And as Republicans, you have, of course, Donald Trump. You have a woman named Haley. You have a guy named Hamim's Way, if I'm saying it right. Hutchison Pence, which is Mike Pence, of course. Ron DeSantis, which is the governor of Florida, which is our governor. Scott, which is another male. Elder, which is another male. Governor Chris Christie, of course. Burgum. Suarez, if you don't know who Suarez is, Francis Suarez, he is the mayor of the city of Miami. And also Hurd. And third party is West. Now I don't know half of these candidates. I've heard of Governor Chris Christie. I know Ron DeSantis. I know Joe Biden. I know Donald Trump. I know Francis Suarez because he is my mayor because I live within the city of Miami. I know, of course, Mike Pence, and of course, but here's what I want to talk about. First of all, I want to know, who do you think that will be the great presidential candidate? Who do you think that will be best suited for our president in the 2024 election? Who do you think should win, and who you predict will be winning? And I'm going to give you my answer most likely towards the ending of this episode. We're going to go right into it. Let's just say it. This 2024 election is a big, huge election because it's coming with a lot of controversy behind it. As you do know, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is running for president of the United States. And there's a lot of backlash for him with his Don't Say Gay Act and taking out African American studies in classrooms, and also, his battle and his debate and his, little disagreement and his little situation, whatever he have going on, his little battle with Disney World. So it's a lot behind him, and then it's also a lot behind Joe Biden, where a lot of people are like, oh, he's up in age. He's 80 something years old, or going on 80 something years old, and he's the presidency, and he's too old to be running for presidency and everything. And then you have, of course, Donald Trump, who has been indicted on, the porn star scandal, where he, apparently had sexual relations with a porn star before his presidency. And then now, of course, him having documents. This is Mar-a-Lago estate here in Palm Beach, where he had presidential documents, White House documents in his Mar-a-Lago estate, and he's been indicted. So there's a lot of things coming in here, as far as mostly every other president that's coming in here has either has something going on with themselves right now, or like something that is putting an if on them about running for presidency. Because everybody's saying, oh, Joe Biden is old, he's in his age, he should get elected because he's an elder, but he barely he's sick, he can they already have all these other things. And then they have, oh, Ron DeSantis, if he's don't like gay people in Florida, you can imagine what he's gonna do to the country. And now you're almost about to kick Disney World out of Orlando, because Disney World is tired of his BS, and now they're thinking about moving to another state, and because of his Don't Say Gay Act and the way that he's banning homosexuality in certain areas. Like, you can't dress up as a woman and perform in a performance as a woman if you're male, or you'll get fined $10,000, and the business that they're performing at will be fined $10,000 and all that. It's a lot behind it. And then you have, of course, Donald Trump, who I had sex with this woman, and then he's trying to deny it and paying off these lawyers to say he didn't do it. And now you have these documents in your government documents in your house that shouldn't be in your house, and they say he had somebody in there moving them around so they won't be in the eye of the cameras or whatever they had going on, and he had somebody going around moving in, and he's been indicted and all. So it's a lot behind this 2024 election. To me, this is going to be one of the most historical elections out there, because you got a percentage of the candidates coming in with issues already. You got too many candidates coming in, with issues. You got one battling with the state of Florida issues. You got one battling with governmental issues. You got one battling with, his health issues. Then you got this one battling with this and this one. So it's like, who do you think is the best candidate for this candidacy? Because right now it's like, who do you think that will best fit? And I'm gonna tell you like this, and I say this not just for the candidacy. All politicians are crooked. It doesn't matter how you is. You could be a black candidate in the hood. You could be a city commissioner. You could be a councilwoman. You can be a councilman. You could be whatever you is. It doesn't matter. As long as you hold a political position, you are going to be crooked. And you don't have to be crooked in the sense that, oh, you laundering money or you doing that, because they're always going to consider politics as crooked people. Because one way or another, you're going to do something that another person or a minority group or a person in your neighborhood, if you're a commissioner and you do something, let's say you're tearing down like for instance, here in Miami, they're tearing down the old Pokebeans, which was an urban community, which housed a lot of African American, underprivileged families. And now they're turning into, newer modern day apartments, and they're costing $1,000+ just to live there. There are people out there that may say, oh, I don't like the commissioner because they taking away my housing and all that. There are people out there that say, oh, because he don't care about the black people, or she don't care about the black people, or this or that. And, it looks at it as if, they're thinking that their politicians or their commissioners or their, you know, government officials are not helping them to solve these problems. And there's a lot of things that factor in certain ways with these things, because you got to look at these things as if, what are they really doing? Are they trying to better themselves in there? Now, there are some politicians and there are some city commissioners and city officials that have went into politics because, number one, some of them was appointed to it because of the former commissioner or former mayor or former politician, appointed to them because they had to leave because of maybe health issues or anything. And then there are some that feel that they can make a change, but in reality, when they do make that change, they come in for the wrong reasons and stuff like that. So you got to look at some of these things and think about, what is it really? All politicians are crooked in one way or another. And you don't have to be crooked as if you're, like I said, you're laundering money, or you done slept with a prostitute or something like that, or you done did, some crooked things before your past. It's just the fact that you're doing something that may affect another human being and they may not like it, then that's already gonna make you a bad politician. Some people, there are some people that was probably in favor of doing with the new urban project in the Pokemon area, which is called Liberty Square, because a lot of people there are looking for change. That was a crime area. It was a drug and crime area. And now that you're putting security there and you're upgrading it to modern day apartments, it's now making it more safer to people that live in the area. Yeah, you're forcing the housing people out of the area, and they're going to be mad because now they don't have, they're taking away their precious home that they've lived in for 5, 10, 20 years, and now you're moving them to another area. It's not, to me, it's not solving the crime problem, because you're moving the crime people out of one area and putting them into another area, number one. Then number two, you're jacking up prices to these areas to where people can afford to live in them. So, you're looking at, what these politicians are doing and what do these politicians have coming in forth with these things, and that's one of the things you got to worry about when it comes to picking your presidential candidate for president in, for the United States of America, because you got to look at it as if, do we want another Donald Trump? Do we want to keep Biden in office? Do we want a homosexual hater, allegedly Ron DeSantis? I'm not saying that Ron DeSantis hates homosexuality, but it's the fact that things that you're doing in your term as a governor doesn't look right for you. You're taking African American studies out of the classrooms. That's making it seem like you don't want people to learn about our history as African Americans. I wasn't born in the 50s and 60s and 40s and 30s and 20s when slavery and people was picking cotton. I wasn't born back then when slavery was there. So I want to learn all about my slavery history. I wasn't born back in the 1800s when the slaves had to come through boats and go to boats and do all these things and stuff, and pick cotton, and they got whipped with whips. I wasn't born back then when there. Yeah, my mom was born in the mid 1900s, but it was the fact that we didn't live slavery, but we want to learn about it. Don't nobody just want to turn on and watch Roots and get the story about slavery. We want to learn about slavery. There's a lot of African Americans out there, that we don't know about in slavery. We know about Harriet Tubman, we know about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and we know about Sojourner Truth and Crispus Attucks and these people. But who are the real people behind the story? You get the forefronts of these projects. Harriet Tubman, who was the leader of the Underground Railroad. Martin Luther King, who was the leader of civil rights. Rosa Parks, Coretta Scott King and all these. But who are the people behind it? And for you to come in and say, I want to take these studies away from these classrooms, it's basically saying that you're taking away our right to learn. You're taking away our right to learn about studies that people are trying to learn and people are trying to go about. So what are you doing as a presidency to help us? What are you doing as a governor that you think you can do as a president that's going to advance to us in one? Because when I look at it, I can say, if you're trying to ban homosexuality in the state of Florida, meaning you don't want nobody in the state of Florida to say don't say gay, what's going to happen in the United States of America if you become president? Even though the Supreme Court and all of them is going to going to veto that and going to reject that bill, but people, you have to look at certain things. And I was like I told you before, I was having a conversation with my friend. Other people in other states are going to look at what Ron DeSantis is doing for the state of Florida, and they're going to look at him and say, oh my God, he's making it terrible for the state of Florida, Floridians, because he's making it bad for them, and they're going to look real bad, how he's doing this and doing that for the state of Florida. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't study this, you can't study that, and if you do this and do that, you got to pay this fine and stuff. So they're going to look at it as, why would I want somebody who is already making it hard and bad for the residents and the citizens of the state of Florida, when he probably will do the same thing for the rest of the country? And then with Joe Biden, people are going to start to, the man is already 80 years old. We don't want another 4 years and his health goes down and he's health issues and stuff and all of that, and then they're going to feel like, oh no, he's not going to be able to make another 4 years because his health issues. You do realize there has to be an on-call physician at the White House, meaning that the White House has to have its own medical doctor on hand. They may not live at the White House, but they stay or they're somewhere near the White House, where if anything happened, they're right there. Because you're not going to be able to say, okay, let's take the president to the nearby hospital. They will have to shut that whole hospital down just to allow the president to go inside the hospital because it's the president. So I'm quite sure there is a live-in doctor or there is a doctor near that is hired to only cater to the White House staff, meaning the president, the vice president, the first lady, the families of the president, from the children to the staff of the White House, anybody that's in the White House. There is a medical team that is stationed for that. And they probably have a medical center inside of the White House, like a doctor's office, where they treat, like if the president feels sick or something, you go right in that room and the doctor treat him. Same thing with Jill Biden. She gets sick or whatever, she got to go in the room and they tend to her needs. So you can't rule that out as, because he's the oldest stuff. Yeah, he's the oldest president in United States history. But you also got to look at what are the other candidates bringing to the table. Yeah, you want another 4 years with President Donald Trump, where he tried to overturn the election, where he thought that the election was rigged, that he had them recount the votes in Georgia and in other states, and then he encouraged the citizens of the United States to bum rush the state capitol and almost, injured your Vice President Mike Pence, former Vice President Mike Pence, and Nancy Pelosi and all the other people, and he encouraged them to do that, which he claimed he didn't, allegedly. But my thing is, who is it best for? Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you like this. Well, my opinion is, keep Joe Biden in the office. Because there's a lot of people that are saying Joe Biden is not doing nothing for nobody. Joe Biden is not doing nothing for this person. Joe Biden is not doing nothing for that person. Joe Biden is doing much more than what President Trump did. And we sure don't want Ron DeSantis in the office, because you're already messing up the state of Florida by your Don't Say Gay Act, and then your African American studies being banned from classrooms, and then you're passing these laws about you can't perform in a dress or you'll be fined $10,000, or you can't go this way or that way without being in trouble and stuff. Dude, you got a lot of issues in the state of Florida that you have to worry about before you step your foot into the presidency. This is his last year of being a governor in the state of Florida. So he's trying to pass so many laws in the fact that when the next governor come in, Florida is jacked up. Remember back when Obama got elected and they kicked out the last president, Bush, when Bush left and Obama got elected. What did they say? Obama came in and had to clean up all the mess that Bush and his family did, which was true because look at what happened with Osama bin Laden. They couldn't find Osama bin Laden in the Bush administrative, and then what ended up happening when Obama got into it? Same thing. I mean, after 4 years, and then in his second term, he ended up finding Osama bin Laden and killed him. Because the Republicans all about money and all about controlling people. And my thing is, you can't control people when it comes down to what the citizens of the United States want. A lot of these citizens want to live and want to be. What is the major problem in the United States right now? Poverty, rent increase, climate control, climate change. You got a lot of these people that are being kicked out and evicted out of their homes because we're still living in a pandemic. Even though they don't talk about COVID-19, even though they have done away with the COVID testing, even though, we are in another new state of mind, you still have certain states and certain cities and certain countries that are still dealing with the effects. It's still people walking around here with masks on because they're too scared, and they're going to be walking around with the mask on for another 10 years or so because they're still scared of COVID. You're telling people to take off their masks and run away, and that was the issue with President Trump. He was ready to get everybody back into running. Oh, take off the mask and go work. You're ready to kill somebody. In the presidential election, when they was doing the presidential debate, he was like, oh, I want to just open everything back up. What did Joe Biden say? I want to open everything back up, but slowly and safely. And now you got it to what a point that you still got, I've seen people, today I've seen about 3 or 4 people still wearing masks. My mom to this day still wears a mask as she goes outside the door. She always tell me, where's your mask? Where's my mask? I keep a mask handy just in case. Because sometimes you get a person on a train or a bus, or you get a person in the grocery store, they be coughing their behinds off, and then at the end of the day, you're like, oh no. Every time somebody coughs, somebody thinks it's COVID. So you gotta look at these things, and you gotta know that these things exist to the point where, what are we doing, as American citizens? Who is the president that's going to take us into the next level of democracy? Who is the one that's going to get us out of this poverty phase? Look at what's going down here in South Florida. People's rent are going up. My rent just went up this month, and a lot of people's rents are going up, and it's due to these the cost of living, the high rises, and all these other things that are going on. And then you expect people to be living off of $10, $12 an hour. I've seen, I walk around to these, when I go out and stuff like that, I see these restaurants that say, oh, we're starting the employees off at $10, we're starting the employees off at $11, we're starting the employees off at $12. And I'm like, but the average rent is $1,000 in Miami. You're lucky to get rent that's less than $1,000 in Miami. And you're lucky to get that. Because now these days, I had a ex-coworker of mine who at one point was living in the new Liberty Square, which is the old Pork and Beans, and said that a 2-bedroom costs you $1,300, which is, and I was like, are you serious? To live in that neighborhood, and you're still living in the Liberty City area. So I think that as if, what are we doing to make America great again? And I look at it as if these politicians have to deal with these issues. You're worried about health care, you're worried about Social Security. Yeah, we know in the next 30, 40 years there will be no more Social Security because everybody keeps sucking up security. Like they say, Social Security that we're paying now on our paycheck is supposed to be for us when we retire. But it's so many people out there with Social Security, from young kids who have disabilities to older people who are in their retirement age to people who are retiring early and wants to retire to defend. They're getting Social Security that's supposed to be for us. It's so much Social Security money dished out to a lot of people out there, to the point that when we get older, as we get older, it won't be no Social Security because there won't be no money. The Social Security I'm paying for now is probably paying for my mother. It's probably paying for, you know, my cousins, uncles, aunties, relatives, neighbors, you know, friends down the street. It's probably paying for people that I don't know. And that's supposed to be money that's supposed to be for me. So when I graduate, or me not graduate, excuse me, when I retire, I'm supposed to be getting that money. But once I retire, and remember the retirement age at one point was 62. It keeps going up years after years after years because they're trying to keep the average man to still be working. I seen an episode. I seen a thing that they did on the news where this 90-year-old woman works at a tennis place in a park, and I was like, wow, she's 90 years old and still working because she likes to do what she do. But there are people out there that has to work. I had a coworker of mine who was in her probably 60s to 70s, and she, you know, she wasn't 100% active, but she was one. She had to work, and she worked 2 jobs, and still got a check from Social Security because paying her rent off of Social Security wasn't enough. Social Security only gives you what, maybe $800, $900, maybe $1,000 a month in Social Security. And what's the average rent? 1,000 plus. Not only you have to pay rent, you have to pay light bill, you have to have a phone to communicate, you know, water if you live in a certain area, and God forbid you have a house. And a lot of these people right now don't have money saved up like that to say, oh, I have cushion money where anything happen, I have money, you know. Us Americans, we using our cushion money to pay for what we have to do in the future. You know, we're using our cushion money to survive now, where our cushion money is supposed to be for the future. You have people that have 401ks and pension plans and savings and stuff that have to dip into their savings, have to dip into their 401s and their pension plans just to survive because they're not making enough money to live off of. You know, and this is what I think that the presidency should be worried about. You know, you're more worried about what's going on with, you know, the homosexuals, what's going on with the men dressing like men, and what's going on with this and that, when you're not worried about the real issues. And that's what this presidency of for next term should be more worried about, more focused on the people at hand. Yeah, we're worried about how many Americans don't have health insurance and how many Americans, you know what I'm saying, may not have health care and, you know, maybe, you know, Social Security, worried about that and people living off of Social Security. But you need to be more worried about the people who are getting kicked out of their houses because they can't pay their rent because they don't make enough money. People who are living off of government assistance because they can't afford to live on their own. You know, it shouldn't have to be millions and millions of people out there living on food stamps and living on housing and living on government assistance to take care of their families because they can't afford to live on their own. You should have where families should only have to live off of government assistance for a couple of years until they get on their feet where they can finally find out, okay, I can make this amount of money, I can make this money. You have people that need government assistance that is making $10, $11 an hour and still need government assistance because they can't afford to live on their own. You have people that are making $15, $16, $17 an hour and still need government assistance because they can't live off their own because of the cost of living keep going up every day. I want to know what y'all think about this. Comment on this page. Comment at the bottom of this page. Don't forget, Ron, you can also email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. And don't forget to comment at the bottom of this page. Okay, my candidate for presidency, my thing, I want Joe Biden back in office. And not only because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, because it's his second term, let's just get him in there and get him out. No, because he's doing a lot more than other presidents are doing. You may not think that, but I don't want Ron DeSantis in where he's going to make, you know, all the gay people mad, and then there's going to be a big old riot and overturn in the United States where he don't want African Americans to be learning about African American histories and stuff. I sure don't want Donald Trump, who, you know what I'm saying, is high withholding documents in his privacy of his own home, and also going around here sleeping and having sex with prostitutes and stuff that allegedly, you know, and stuff like that. So who do we want? Let me know how you feel. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. Don't forget to click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also don't forget to check out our previous episodes and check out our two areas of, you know what I'm saying, videos, hotspots in South Florida, and also history in South Florida. This is your host. I am your host, C Money of the Roundtable Talk. We are at Marshall Williamson Park in South Miami, Florida. Stay safe, stay blessed, and I will catch you in the next episode. Have a good day.